Welcome to this video on personal finance training, structuring your accounts. So I guess to begin with, why bother setting up your accounts, your bank accounts, your investment accounts in this manner? And why even bother, I guess, looking at them? Well, money likes order and it likes to be cared for and nurtured and directed as you see fit. And I guess some people, when they think about their money and when they get paid at the end of each month or at the end of each week, they have no idea where their money's going. So I guess my question to you is, wouldn't it be good to actually know that you have a plan and a strategy of where your money's going and a plan for the future in terms of, do you have things that you want to do? Do you have places that you want to go? Do you want to know that you've got savings away for a rainy day? All of these things are important when it comes to day-to-day life. And so this kind of structure that I've suggested here will definitely help you think through those types of things and set you up well, I believe anyway, in terms of managing your finance as well. So let's get into it and let's look at the different types of accounts that I would suggest you consider opening. So the first section is to do with bank accounts. So, and the first one that I've suggested is a standard current account or a checking account as it's known in the US. This is really just a normal bank account, and I guess most people will already have this type of account. So it's the main account that your money will flow in and out of. So your salary will come in here, and then you'll likely be making regular payments and buying things in shops out of this account, whether that's with a credit card or a debit card. But this is really the standard normal bank account that most people have. So I guess just one point or question on this one, would it make sense to actually change banks to get a slightly better interest rate and or a joining bonus? I know out there banks aren't offering a ton of interest on their bank accounts, but definitely worth considering or even looking into what banks perhaps offer better interest rates that you're currently getting. So definitely review that. The second then is an emergency fund, which is something I think that is often overlooked and many people don't even have one. So I think this specific and particular account will definitely stand you in good stead moving forward if you set it up. So in my mind, it's a separate bank account from the account above, ideally potentially with a different bank, so that you're not kind of tempted to easily dip in and out and use it in tandem with your normal bank account. So separate bank account. Again, ideally, you'll have the highest interest rate possible, just because if you're going to be saving this money up and storing it away on a rainy day or for a rainy day, you're going to want to get as high an interest rate as possible on that account. And really, it's in my mind, it's 3 months of standard living expenses. So if you think in a given month, if you spend, let's say, £1,000 for sake of argument and for ease, then 3 months of those standard living expenses would obviously be £3,000. And I kind of suggest obviously beginning with that, so saving up £3,000 in a completely separate account, and also then just working up towards 6 months of standard living expenses, so £6,000. Obviously, this will likely be a challenge if you're completely new to this, and perhaps if you are just starting out in your career, perhaps you might not be able to just dump away 3 months or 6 months of living expenses, but definitely worth at least setting up and beginning to save towards it. And the third, just quick point I've mentioned here is automation is the key on this one. So if you're able to set up an automation in terms of an automated payment from this standard account, then that'll definitely help you, in my experience anyway, to just kind of passively chip away at working towards those 3 months, of expenses. And then the third and final kind of bank account that I've suggested, which might not be for everyone, but is a joint account with your partner or significant other, perhaps your spouse. And I guess this one's more, in my mind, for perhaps those bucket list trips or fun activities or holidays, if you like. Using this as an account to work towards having money set aside to pay for those. And I guess you can obviously, depends how you've set up your finances with your other half, but you can both contribute to this. And again, ideally it's a separate account. And again, ideally it's with a high interest rate as possible to at least get some sort of return in terms of interest on that balance. Moving on then to credit cards. I know a lot of people will either be scared to use a credit card or may just not have experienced it before, but I'm a fan as long as you are able to manage your spending on it, and as long as you kind of have overall control of what spending you're putting on that. So kind of said as a broad point, use it wisely or just not at all, just stick to a standard debit card. And I guess following on from that, the key point as well here is that you clear the balance every month in full. So what you don't want to be doing is putting, big chunky expenditure on a credit card and then actually running up the balance to the point where you're actually over, or you're having to pay interest on whatever it is that you've put on the credit card. So budget wisely and use the credit card wisely, and don't be overspending to the point where you won't be able to pay it off in full at the end of every month. And then I'd suggest seeking out and researching what credit cards actually provide you with some sort of reward on your spending. So lots of credit cards provide either points or cashback, depending on perhaps how much you spend. And yeah, it's just something to consider, I guess, when you're looking at a credit card. Some won't provide it at all. One of the ones that I've had for several years now is a Barclaycard Visa credit card. And it actually provides you with Hilton Honors points. So basically, when you spend money on the credit card and you obviously pay it off, you get Hilton Honors points in exchange for that spending that you can then spend or use at Hilton hotels around the world. So it's just a nice way to get rewarded for your spending rather than simply just using a debit card. But obviously, as I mentioned, you need to use it wisely. You need to make sure you're clearing the balance every month in full. Otherwise, using it will actually have a backward or detrimental effect, and the points or cashback won't really matter because you'll be being charged in interest, if that makes sense. I've included links here, which I'll include in the comments below. But these are just some suggested websites of going to, have a look at what credit cards are available, both in the UK and the US. But a simple Google search will definitely point you in the right direction, depending on what country you're in. And then the next kind of setup or type of account to consider, at least, is your investments. So I've kind of split these up into three sections. So we've got the stock market, cryptocurrency, and then property or real estate. Stock market is there's many different avenues and factors to consider here, but I've broken these out and I won't go into too much detail on them because it really depends on your own personal circumstances and also what country you're from. But really, in my mind, there's three different types of account when it comes to the stock market. The first is your tax advantaged accounts. So, for example, in the UK, there's the stocks and shares ISA. So really, that's just an account type that will shelter your gains and your dividends from taxes in a legal fashion, of course. The pension, again, is then self-explanatory. That's investments that you're putting away for retirement. And then the taxable account is similar, really, to the tax advantage account, but obviously the reverse, in that anything in there is subject to taxes. Cryptocurrency, then, obviously, again, you'll want to look into whether or not this even fits in terms of your risk kind of appetite and whether or not you want to invest in a cryptocurrency. And the same with the stock market, to be honest. But cryptocurrency, you obviously need some form of an exchange where you're going to buy and sell the crypto. I use Coinbase, and then I've also suggested another popular one, which is Binance. And then thirdly, property or real estate. So, are you, this is obviously all dependent on your own personal circumstances, but are you in the position right now where you have a goal to save up for your own home? Or maybe you have a home and you might be keen to actually overpay on the mortgage on your own house. Again, do some research into whether or not this makes sense for you. In my mind, it's not something I want to do because I think there's better alternatives to place your money because to get a better rate of return. But I do see the benefit in the peace of mind that comes when you have paid off your house and actually have no mortgage and you're debt free. And then the third kind of point or thing to ponder is, do you want to save up to get into the property market in terms of investments? So, buying your first rental property. And again, that's potentially something you might open another account for to begin saving up for that deposit. And I guess finally, to wrap this up, I would just underpin a lot of this with the kind of idea of automating it as much as possible. So in my own experience, these are some of the automations that I've set up. So I have a direct debit to pay off the credit card in full every month. So that's automated. I don't have to log in every month and make sure that I'm paying it off. That's already set up to be a direct debit payment from my standard bank account so that I'm not going to be charged any interest on the credit card. Again, similarly, with building up the emergency fund, I mentioned before about an automated transfer to that separate bank account. this is one of the biggest things I can advocate for, and really encourage you to do, both for the emergency fund and any type of kind of fund or goal that you're saving towards. When you set up an automated payment, it just makes, it makes things so much easier. And actually, you don't realize, or I guess you do realize, but you don't see the value in it, around how quickly the months can pass. And actually, by just putting away maybe 200, 300, 500 pounds, whatever it is, just chipping away at that goal, whatever it is that you have, that actually does, rack up quite quickly and quite significantly, obviously depending on how much you're putting away. So same with the house deposits fund, ideally it's an automated transfer, so that you're not even having to set it up, or sorry, you're not even having to go in manually every month. It's just an automated kind of pay yourself first transfer that's already set up. And then finally, again, stock market investments, ideally these are automated. Some, accounts or brokerages just don't have that functionality or capability. So in that case, I would suggest setting up like a weekly or monthly calendar reminder so that you remember to do it. But definitely look into whether or not your brokerage does provide that. And then again, Coinbase for cryptocurrency, I've set up an automated weekly buy that just comes directly out of my bank account, so that I don't have to kind of think about it. And actually, I'm just chipping away and dollar cost averaging my way into those investments. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll include links underneath this video, and please drop any comments below and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks.